So recently, I've been playing the latest event story, Mirror Staging Girls Frontline, and considering I will be preoccupied with this novel for the next week, as well as other announced Girls Frontline projects directing people to this game, I figured I would make a video explaining why I personally really like Girls Frontline. So basically, this video is just going to me shilling this game and maybe getting new players to try this game. But more likely, it'll be a circle jerk video watched by other people who already play this game, and I will do my best to validate our correct opinion on why Girls Frontline is the most superior anime mobile game. The main thing that I like about Girls Frontline is not something I can say I enjoy about many gacha games I play, and that is the gameplay. As someone who likes to be mentally challenged by my games, I really appreciate the multi-layer strategic gameplay that Girls Frontline offers. There is strategy on how you set up your echelon compositions to counter the enemies, then there is strategy in how you macro around the map, and lastly there is strategy in how you micro your units in battle. And the game does start off fairly easy and can probably easily be written off as an idle waifu collector game at first glance. But the difficulty does ramp up very fast, and we basically go from a chill, throw all your waifus in an echelon at random and just watch them go to work, to watch your waifus get fried by laser beams. Oh, also why am I fighting this tank with a handgun, and thank god they added a restart battle button. And in addition to the enemies becoming trickier to deal with, the maps themselves also get pretty complicated to navigate and often have their own cryptic puzzle associated with them. Many times too cryptic in my opinion. Like you can't tell me anyone solved this bullshit without a guide. And lastly, the team building itself becomes more important as countering the enemies with the right teams becomes necessary. There is for sure some standard formations and setups to learn, but you are also often rewarded for doing something a bit weirder, but that just happens to work for a certain enemy. For example, despite not synergizing with assault rifles as a shotgun character, I often like to use LT/LX in assault rifle teams when I need to counter big waves of enemies. This is due to LT/LX having a skill that allows her to push the enemies backwards. And pairing this with a stun grenader like UNP9 basically allows a very convenient chain stun on big enemy waves. Basically, what I'm saying is that the team building has a good amount of depth to it, and honestly it's still something I'm not too familiar with or good at. And lastly, the micro itself becomes more necessary as the maps get more difficult, and there's a lot of subtle micro tricks to learn for dealing with multiple enemy types. And just having good unit control and understanding of the enemy's AI will help immensely in reducing the damage you take. And even though the maps do get more difficult for sure, there is still often a lot of ways to go about them, which I really like. For example, in this map, the objective is to set up a supply chain, which basically means linking up this flag node with your command center node and then holding that position for a set amount of turns. And the main obstacle in this map is this tank enemy that if you send any standard echelon at will get absolutely roasted. So one way to solve this map would be capturing bottom side, having one strong rifle squad holding the flag node, and then using dummy echelons to bait the tank enemies away from the point. That way you can avoid fighting that overpowered enemy altogether. But then another way to beat this same map is to make a more obscure team that is more specially tailored towards taking down those tank enemies, and then just going topside and taking them on and having the same rifle team hold the flag node. And many maps are like this example in that it'll throw a lot of difficult enemies at you, but you have a lot of ways to counter them, whether it be making a counter team, having a good ferry to counter them, or maybe HOCs, or just finding a way to avoid fighting altogether. The second thing I like about Girls Frontline is its stamina system being in the form of resources that you can mass stockpile in the form of manpower, ammo, rations, and parts. And basically everything in the game, from playing the maps to obtaining new units to leveling your gear, uses these resources. And if you don't craft too many dolls or fairies or stuff, you can corpse drag levels for as long as you want. Basically, leveling a unit up isn't a stamina gated task like it is in many other gacha games. And though I like having the option to play the game for long leveling sessions, what I really like about the resource system is that it doesn't feel annoying to take a break from the game, as I just come back to a lot of resources that I can waste on getting 3-star equipment when rolling for fairies. Leveling and powering up units in Girls Frontline is simple and I find preferable to other gacha games. All the dolls use the same mats when enhancing them, so there is no resource balancing you need to worry about, and you don't find yourself being like, oh, K2 needs 4 Java cakes and 1 more Victorian sponge, but I also need 2 vinyl records for WA 2000. No, none of that annoying stuff exists in Girls Frontline. You just get as many data logs as possible. The units in this game are very attractive and definitely up to my standards. Obviously, this is subjective, but I just find that the art style and look of the characters in this game to be more attractive than other gacha games I played. All these machinery are just so attractive that I just really want to take my big can of WD-40 and spray them until they... And the last thing I really come to like about Girls Frontline is its story. And I think both the story as well as the gameplay really start to excel in the story events. Particularly, I feel every event from Singularity onwards has been very high quality in its writing, and the current event, Mirror Stage, is meeting my lofty expectations thus far. And the good news for new players is that these events are added permanently to the game and the campaign tags, so you can get to them whenever you want. And though there's definitely some annoying things with the writing, mainly with it being overly vague and like half revealing things way too much, overall I find the story pretty good and easy to follow, and I'm always interested on what will happen next. Maybe I will go into more details on the lore in a separate video, but suffice to say, compared to other gacha games that I felt I invested a decent amount of time in reading, which includes all these games here, I would say that in my opinion, Girls Frontline story is far better than all those games, like at least 2 tiers above on an imaginary tier list from those games story-wise. Anyways, I think I hit on all the main points on why I like this game and think I did a decent job at shilling it. I guess let me know in the comments if you are a new or old player in this game. Oh, and also if you would want more Girls Frontline videos, let me know. But in conclusion, the reason I like Girls Frontline is that I find the units to be attractive and it makes me feel mentally challenged.